December 1965, a fiery object tears across the South African sky, silent, fast, and deliberate. Witnesses watch as it descends over the Karoo desert, leaving a trail of blue flame before crashing near Craddock. Within hours, the military seals off the area. Trucks roll in, wreckage is removed, and that same week, on the other side of the world, a nearly identical object crashes in Pennsylvania. Both governments call them meteors, but no one ever finds one. It's the Cradock Fireball encounter with special guests, the Adventure Guys, all the way from South Africa. Will they believe? Will you believe? Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of Mostly True Alien Stories.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about the dangers of unknown objects.
Scientists in Mexico pulling back the curtain. We need to save ourselves.
Welcome back to Mostly True Alien Stories, where we take one true encounter from UFO history, we lay out the facts, and decide whether it is a mostly true alien story or not. I'm Neal Girandola, and with me is the man who probably keeps NORAD open in another browser tab. Let's say hello to Andrew Triana. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Neal. Good to see you.
Today's story stretches across hemispheres. It's the first ever for us. A mysterious object crashes in South Africa, another in America, the same week in 1965. And joining us are two guys who know a thing or two about going off the beaten path. They are two South African cousins who decided to stop scrolling and start rolling. One is an actor, director, comedian, and former radio host. The other is a photographer, network engineer, and trained nurse. Together, they've turned midlife curiosity into full-time exploration, documenting 100 days of adventure, a series that's part travel, part history hunt, and part, let's just see what happens. So let's welcome the Adventure Guys, Roland, Gaspar, and Frank, the man Martens, to Mostly True Alien Stories. Hi, boys.
Hey!
Thank you for having us.
I have to ask you guys, before we go any further, you have to qualify for this. Do you guys believe in extraterrestrial life on other planets?
I really want to believe, but I don't.
Okay.
Oh, you don't?
No, but I really want to. So if you can convince me, it's totally. I'm open to it. There's no argument there. So.
And the opposite is true about me. Like, I really want, well, it's not the opposite. If there's a tinfoil hat that goes in our system, it's going to go on this head. Because I'm like, did you see that? That has to be this. It could be this. I'm scientific enough to know that, okay, sure, you're plausible, you're reasonable, you've looked it up, the science, blah, blah, blah. But still, did you see what that thing did? So I'm that guy. I'm like, I can see it being real. Frank's like, yeah, but give me evidence, And I'm like, evidence? What do you need evidence for?
I need science.
Yeah, I don't need evidence. Andrew always needs evidence, but he never believes what he's seeing. So tell me about the Adventure Guys. How did that get started? What is it that you're doing? You're traveling all over 100 days. You had to have, one, seen a lot of amazing things. And two, eventually you're going to see aliens. So then you're going to have to believe. So, even further. So tell us how this all started and what's the end game? Where are you headed?
Right. So here's the story. Visualize it. Remember the Golden Girls? Sicily, 1942. Imagine there's two guys. We're 51 years of age. We're getting together. I'm like 40 days older than him. So once a year, I'm older and wiser. So we get together for my birthday in January. And then again for his in March. And we start sharing things. We haven't seen each other for 20 years by this stage. And we reconnect end of last year, beginning of this year. Wow. And we start comparing notes. And we realize, gosh, we were telling each other all the stories about everything that had gone wrong in 2 decades. Why do you focus on that? Why do you just always talk about what you have lost or what you don't have? And then we started looking at it and going, hang on a second. All the things we don't have indicate an opportunity. So if you don't have something you have to, like a house that you have to paint and build or whatever, or a boat that you have to clean or whatever, you have all the time available. So I asked Frank, what would you do? If we could do anything, what would you do? And he said,
make YouTube videos.
Let's make videos. And where would you go?
Everywhere and anywhere.
Everywhere.
At any given time and any moments in time.
So we decided we were going to hit the road. And then Frank said one thing to me. He said to me, I don't want to be that guy, especially men as we get older. You see your friends this year and a year from now and a year from then and a year from then, and they're telling the same stories every time you see them from high school. Al Bundy's 1,000-yard throw, whatever, the same stories. And Frank says, I don't want to be that guy. I just want to make new stories. And it hit me. You don't change the world by big, bright, incredible things. You do one new thing. You try one new thing. It changes you and your influence on the world as a result of who you are. When you become better by trying new things, learning new things, or you can sit and go, well, I hit my midlife. I'm going to just let it ride. You know, what are you contributing? What are you learning? How much fun are you having?
It's one of those things where you have to remember what you're doing with projects like this, your 100-day adventure, your choices to do this together. It's cousins go out and take this chance. Andrew and I did the same thing, saying let's just knock this alien podcast out there. Who knows what's going to happen with it, right? Who knows what people are going to say or think or do? But you got to put all that aside because, as you say, you could be changing one person's life. You could be influencing someone in a very positive way by entertaining them or telling them stories they've never heard before or seeing places they've never been to. And so this is it's a wonderful thing that you guys have chosen to do. I think it's also very brave. You're going to parts unknown.
Yeah, well, the thing is, so we set out on 100 days of adventure just in South Africa on the Eastern Cape, and we were going to do one video a day every day for 100 days, and 30 days in, Frank has a major medical challenge, and we had to get him on a plane and get him to Houston because he's been living here for many, many years, and his medical is sharing everything. So you have to be able to adjust. You have to be able to do this, and life will throw things at you. And in the process of doing these things, if you just share your story, your journey, and see everything that comes across your path as a challenge, a discovery, it makes the unpleasant stuff at least have meaning, And like you guys with the podcast, you're doing it, and the content can change someone's life. Then I've never seen it that way. Or someone looks at you and goes, these guys are doing an alien podcast. You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to talk about woodwork, gardening, astronomy, whatever. And they take their step because you inspired them by taking yours. You're not even telling them, here's how to take your step. You're just doing it and you're showing them. We kind of want to do that. We want to make new stories, show you places, share things with you, but hopefully inspire people to make their own new stories. That is a win-win for everyone.
So on your adventures, have you guys seen anything unusual in the skies above you? Has there been any hint at alien life wherever you've been?
Depending on who you ask, the answer to that question.
All right, so here's the thing. We are sitting in Oyster Bay, April this year, and we are on the deck and we're looking at this beautiful big sky country, not a lot of light pollution. And on the horizon, there's this line that forms, and you remember those old Windows screensavers that used to do that, that sort of up and down, and it kind of does that motion around like that. Now this guy and Nick, they look at it and they go, that must be a comet. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That is unnatural. There's no comet that moves like that. And they, but these are the characteristics we'd measured by. And I'm like, that doesn't explain it for me. It was doing weird movements. It was doing and they go, it was kind of weird. Yeah, but they think it's a natural phenomenon. I'm like, really? The simplest explanation is that is completely natural when it's moving in an unnatural way right in the sky? Is that the simplest explanation?
I'm not going to give you the explanation. I'm going to hand it over to Andrew. He'll give you the explanation. Andrew, what was it, you think?
A drone.
Come on, like a mile long in the sky? A mile long drone in Oyster Bay, South Africa. There isn't even a cafe on the corner. Now you want a mile of drones? Who's sending them there?
Drones.
You're never going to change his mind. Definitely not alien, according to Andrew.
2 or 3 weeks ago, I came up with this hypothesis that because, besides, obviously, if it's a comet, why is it not moving in a straight line? It's literally changing directions. It looks like a streak across the sky kind of thing.
That is tilting.
There was a lot of aurora type of activity actually happening around that time of year. So there were actually at certain points in that area, you could actually see aurora. And I think it could possibly have been a mild aurora showing up there. So that would be my explanation.
Yeah, he's on your WhatsApp group, Andrew.
You know what, guys? It was aliens.
That's probably mostly true.
I'm going to say from this point on, I'm not going to deny it.
The story we're getting into today took place in Cradock, which is that's South Africa, correct?
Yeah.
And so have you guys ever been there? We're going to get into that report in a little bit, in just a few minutes, but have you ever been there? Can you explain what that area looks like?
Yeah, we've been to Cradock. In fact, we started our adventure there. We found the real Harry Potter in Cradock. There is an actual grave of a human being with the name Harry Potter buried in Craddock. He died in 1910 at the age of 46. Now, I know what you're thinking. Harry Potter was supposed to be 11 in 1991, but King's Cross Station was opened like 150 years before that, 140 years before that. So platform 9 3/4 could have existed if Harry Potter's story came from 100 years before that. Now you're going to say he really is crazy. I'm just hearing it myself now. But jokes aside, the truth is we actually did find a grave of Harry Potter in the graveyard. And in terms of the people, Frank, it's a farming area, right?
Yeah. So mostly
expansive.
agricultural.
Yeah, agricultural, lots of game farms, famous wool farming, that kind of thing. Big sky country, not a lot of light pollution. Dark. The Karoo is absolutely stunning, but it's also not a lot of mountains and things, so you can see for miles. And it's a little bit different from the other place of the same that we're going to talk about a bit later on. I forget the name. What's it called? Keckland? Kecksburg. So it's a little bit different from Kecksburg. I think you can tell us more about that. Farming country. The people are friendly, but also they are used to looking up in the sky. They know the sky. The farmer can tell you what the weather's going to do for 3 days, just looking up at the stars and the moon and where the clouds are. So if something comes, across their path, they will know it. And then there's a culture of storytelling. So it kind of gets passed on. Lots of small towns far apart.
Understood. But let me ask you this, though. You've traveled South Africa to America. Where do you think, who do you think would handle first contact better? South Africa, America?
Let's just say this. In South Africa, there's such a variety of cultural approaches to this, So there's one group of people who, if someone landed, would go, oh my goodness, you need to become our new leader. Someone else would go, I think that would taste great, with some salt and lemon juice. Another group of people would go, not on my lawn, please move along. And then, it's just, I think the culture of sort of thinking of it, other people would be very superstitious, etc. But I did, when I was working in radio, I actually asked on air, do you believe it? And one person said, yeah, I remember 1978, this craft came down and it landed in my suburb. And he mentioned the suburb, which is not one of the better ones. And he said, this being got out, looked around, climbed back in, off he went. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about the alien bit of the story, but I've climbed out there. I just also got back in my car and left.
This leads me to my next question. If you did meet a being, the two of you, on your travels, right, from another planet, and Frank is convinced it's a being, and which one of you is asking the first question, and which one of you is already running?
I don't think either of us are running. Are you running, Frank?
I'm not running.
No, Frank's not running.
No.
I tell you, I can answer the first question very easily. I think you got to separate it by decent questions and stupid questions. I know who's asking the first decent question. That's Frank. I'd probably be like, oh my goodness, do you get like Cosmo lag from like changing galaxies? Your eyes look a bit saggy. I'd ask some stupid thing,
I'm excited to get into our story. You guys want to get into our story? Our true report of an alien encounter? You ready to do that?
Yeah.
100%.
Today, we've got a story that connects your home turf in South Africa to right here in the States, as I mentioned. And we're going to unpack whether the two biggest UFO crashes of the 60s were actually part of the same mystery. Can't wait to hear what Andrew has to say, what he dug up. But let's get into my side of it, the true alien report as I found it. Okay, quick reminder. This is how the show works. We share a true report of an alien encounter. We dig into the details, and then we're going to decide whether it's mostly true alien story or not. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so we can reach a few more aliens. This took place in December 16th, 1965. In the early evening sky over the Eastern Cape of South Africa, people in the towns of Cradock, Rosemead, and Fort Beaufort look up to see something extraordinary. A massive glowing object streaking silently across the sky. Now, I imagine those towns are real close together. Is that right, guys?
Yeah, in that area, they're relatively far apart, like geographically, but they are in the same general area. It's actually about 300 miles, the areas you mentioned. So that's quite a long streak in the sky.
They use miles in South Africa, or they use kilometers?
No, I translated.
He's in Jersey right now, so.
Yeah, when in Jersey.
Miles.
I'm just asking because I'm the fact guy. I just want to make sure that the facts are correct. That's all I'm asking. Okay. Please, Neal, continue.
Witnesses describe it as a fiery cylinder about 30 feet long, traveling horizontally before descending in a slow, controlled arc toward the horizon. There was no sound. There was just an eerie brilliance that turned the night into the day, it seemed. And moments later, a low rumble rolled through the Karoo desert. Is that how you say it? Karoo?
Karoo.
Sheep scattered, radios flickered, and a shockwave rattled windows in Craddock, and then silence. And then the following morning, the farmers near Rosemead reported a burned patch of earth, roughly 20 meters across, and shards of metallic material embedded in the soil. And within hours, South African Air Force vehicles arrived, sealing off the area, and local police were turned away, and they were told it was nothing but a meteor recovery operation. But what happened next is where the mystery kind of deepens. Witnesses claimed the debris wasn't scattered. It was arranged, as if something had been set down rather than exploded. And some described pieces of metal with rivet-like impressions and small heat-fused spheres. Others swore the air smelled of ozone and fuel and not like a meteor. Although I would not know what a meteor smells like, and I wouldn't know what ozone smells like. Does anybody?
I've had ozone treatments. Haven't you ever been? I mean, don't you guys go to the spa? Like, really? It's kind of like a sea salt, but like with electric sea salt, you know? Come on now.
Oh, okay. Smells like farts.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
like farts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Classy.
All right.
Fresh
So
ones, yeah.
by the weekend, the site was completely cleared, and the only official statement came from the South African Air Force press office, which calling it just a routine meteor retrieval. So nothing to see here, folks. But the timing didn't go unnoticed, because that same week, December 19th, 1965, witnesses across Pennsylvania, right down the street from where I live, saw a brilliant fireball that crashed in the woods near Kecksburg, and described as a bronze acorn-shaped craft with strange hieroglyphic markings. So the U.S. military arrives within hours. They recovered something under tarps, kept it covered, and they called it a meteor. All right, so everybody's calling it a meteor. But both events happened within 7 days of each other in South Africa and here in Pennsylvania. But both involved military lockdowns, unexplained metallic debris, and official denials that never lined up with eyewitness accounts. So for decades, UFO researchers have drawn parallels between the two, theorizing that both were part of the same object breaking apart in Earth's atmosphere, or two controlled entries of unknown origin. In South Africa, the incident was investigated by journalists and researchers, including Cynthia Hind. We hear of Cynthia a lot.
Yeah.
And Randolph Kay, who found locals still afraid to talk decades later. And in the U.S., the Kecksburg story became the subject of freedom of information lawsuits. People were suing to find out exactly what that was, and even a History Channel investigation. But no government ever released debris, photos, or radar data from either crash. Was it a satellite, a spy capsule, or something no one was supposed to see twice? We're going to weigh in on that right now. Andrew, we've got two fireballs 1 week apart, one over Pennsylvania, one over the Karoo, both called meteors, both cleaned up by military teams, and both missing the one thing meteors usually leave: fragments. All right, what did you find out when you dug into this one, fellas? Let's weigh into this and decide whether we think this is a mostly true alien story or not. And I expect the South Africans to make sure they let us know.
Oh, we got all the tea. But I want to hear from Andrew first.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
so-
Andrew, what do you got?
Okay, so once I dug into this, I didn't really find that much information on South Africa, which was like, this is really odd because these things happened just a week apart from each other. Why was it so quiet? And when I did dig into it, it was basically the same thing, Neal, that you explained. It was military showed up, nothing to see here, folks. Everybody clears out. No witnesses I could find names of that were actually there in Cradock or around that area.
You had all day today while we were dealing with technical issues to really dig even deeper.
I did. And when I dug into Pennsylvania, boy, did I find out a lot of stuff.
All right, I'll let you off the hook. Go to Pennsylvania. Let us know what you found there. We'll figure out this other side. Go ahead.
We'll get you the other details.
Okay. These two occurrences are related. That's all I'm going to say before I dig into Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And I figured, you know what? I'm going to take the American side here and let the South Africans deal with South Africa. You know, Frank's a little bit different because he's kind of here but he is from
Yeah.
South Africa, but
Yeah.
he's here, but
Yeah.
he's from South Africa. It's
Yeah.
one of those things that doesn't matter to me.
If Frank had a beard or a goatee like you guys would look exactly alike. You both don't believe in aliens.
We're both extremely handsome.
Exactly, right? That's what I was thinking.
Frank and I kind of relate. The only thing that Frank missed earlier when you asked him, like, who would do better with an alien appearing here? And he said America. That's not necessarily true because we shoot first, ask questions later.
That is true.
Every alien encounter that we have gone through, there was guns involved, except for in Italy, they shot first.
That's right.
Always.
Yeah.
Point the gun at them and shoot them and then see what happens.
Yeah.
God bless America. Okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
so in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, this is just a little bit of history. Do you realize that every year they celebrate a UFO festival in the summer?
Oh, they're owning it.
But the UFO didn't land there in the summer. It landed there in December. So why are they not doing it around the days
Because
that it
it's just
actually
too
happened?
cold in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania in December to go out and have fun. They want to be warm.
Oh, okay. All right. The night that the fireball appeared in the sky over Pennsylvania, that fireball was seen from all the way from Ontario, Canada, all the way to Indianapolis, Indiana.
Wow.
They claimed that small fires had started in Ohio and Pennsylvania on the ground. Things were burning, little pieces of fragments. Then witnesses saw a ship crash in the woods.
A ship. They specifically said ship.
Ship. Yes, sir.
Okay.
They saw a ship crash or craft. I found both words, ship or
Okay.
craft, in the woods. And that area, guess what? Soon became roped off and guarded by U.S. troops. And guess what they had? Guns.
Yeah.
Imagine that. In U.S. with guns.
Don't forget your guns, America.
So after all this, the Army reported nothing to see here, folks. So then all these theories started saying it was a crashed alien tech, possibly a downed Russian satellite, or even a secret Nazi tech project.
Oh,
That's right.
Nazi tech.
You heard it right. Here for the first time, Nazi tech. I'm going to get into that.
What if it was a little bit of both? Alien Nazi tech.
Possibly. Okay, so one of the witnesses, his name was Bill Bullbush. What a name. Bullbush.
I would own that name. I would
own it. Bull Bulls. Bull
Yeah.
Balls, Bullbush. Okay.
Definitely.
He said he saw the
balls.
craft flying. He said he saw it turn around in the sky and crash. He said he found a 10-foot tall acorn, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
An acorn-shaped object smoldering in the woods. He said he was scarred from this encounter. I'm like, how are you scarred from this?
Because it smelled like ozone.
Right. And that's probably, it smelled like farts and like rotten eggs
Yeah.
and ozone. You know,
It's not that bad, guys.
he was scarred from this, like emotionally. Emotionally, he was scarred. When he heard people coming, he heard the army coming, he ran because he was scared. Now he's scared. First, he said, I'm scarred by this whole seeing the ship and the fire. It really scarred me emotionally. But then when the army showed up, he's scared. He runs away. Then there was a volunteer firefighter by the name of James Romanowski.
Okay.
He said he saw the acorn too. He at first thought it was a crashed plane, that then he said he saw a metal object in the shape of an acorn covered with hieroglyphics embedded into the ground. And then soon after that, guess what? Mysterious men in trench coats appeared.
What color were the trench coats?
Black.
This sounds like an odd meeting in the woods. Everybody,
It just
Running
sounds like
what's everybody doing out there?
maybe
Right.
like a meeting gone bad. Trench coats, opening of coats. Not a pleasant experience, I'm sure.
Oh, you took it to another place
Aliens.
now.
It's like a flashback, you know.
It's just bringing back memories from my childhood.
That's right.
You know, show me on the doll where the bad man touched you. So, okay. Now, this guy, Frank Romanowski, said that he actually saw a flatbed military truck with this craft.
Wait, Romanowski was the guy who went running.
He's the fight. No. Bullbush is the guy who ran.
running.
He's an older dude.
He's still running.
Romanowski was a volunteer firefighter that went there because there was a fire.
Got it.
So
Understood.
that's what
But
happened.
he didn't run in. Bullbush and Romanowski didn't run
They didn't
into
run
each
into
other.
each other.
Okay.
but they were secretly in love.
They acted like they didn't know each other.
They each wore black trench coats and when meeting in the woods.
What are the odds the aliens land just when we were about to kiss?
Apparently, other witnesses saw the flatbed truck, the military truck as well,
Okay.
with this thing. Michael Rombacher said that he not only saw it, this is a guy who was a U.S. Air Force security guard. He said he not only saw the craft, but he guarded it as well. When they took it back to the military base.
He guarded it back at the base.
Yeah, he guarded it back at the base.
Yeah.
So, of course, what happens now that all these rumors start getting out, right? Everybody's going to turn against you. Everybody's going to say that you're crazy. Apparently, James Romanowski...
I mean, you're talking about 1965.
Right.
People didn't speak openly about the things that they saw that were alien.
Two men in trench coat in the woods.
That's
flashes of light. Definitely alien.
Not going to talk about it.
Nothing to see here until I open the code. Okay, so the town itself, Kecksburg, started discrediting these people.
Okay.
And they said that James Romanowski, who was the firefighter, he couldn't be trusted. He had a criminal record.
Why they got to do that to these guys?
Now, the other weird thing, too, is that Michael Rombacher is currently a UFO investigator. And when asked about this story, what he saw, he said he didn't see anything.
Oh, interesting.
You're right. So you mentioned in your story about lawsuits. Well, in 2003, a lawsuit was filed against NASA to release all the documents around the Kecksburg incident.
Who was suing?
I think it was the people in the town wanted to know everything that had happened.
Okay.
So they put a suit against asking for their documents to be released, to be declassified. Complete disclosure.
Disclosure.
Which we know never happened.
The coats came off.
In 2005, a NASA associate who was an associate at NASA. That's all I got. I was like, NASA associate. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was unclear on that. So this story, although I was
like
able
an associate producer. What do they do?
not much.
Hang out.
They stand there. They look pretty. They make a sandwich
Coffee for everyone.
and get coffee for everyone.
So this NASA associate, we don't know who
NASA
it is.
associate reported to the Associated Press that it was a Russian satellite.
Okay. I mean, I guess they would do that if they wanted to cover something up. They'll get They're not going to get an official spokesperson to say anything. They're going to have the NASA associate go report it, and we'll leave it at that.
Is that what an associate is? Is that keyword for like fixer?
The fixer.
A cleaner.
Yeah. Cleaner.
Other scientists from NASA did some experiments with math. Imagine that, using math to use trajectory, right?
I don't
and
understand
they said
Sounds
that
like Frank.
everything that was up in the sky that night, all the known satellites, everything in the area, that it was impossible, according to the math, it was impossible for anything to have crashed in Kecksburg.
Wait a minute. But based on the math of what? What's the core of the math?
The core of the math is looking at where the satellites are in orbit,
Okay.
looking at the things that had possibly been launched or not launched.
All of this math says that is no way it's a Russian satellite.
No way it's a Russian satellite.
Right.
And if it was, there's no way it could have crashed in Kecksburg.
That trajectory would take it to Kecksburg.
Right.
Understood.
It would take it to Hoboken.
Aren't all satellites accounted for? Aren't they labeled and numbered and, serial
I think
numbers
so.
and all of these things? So all of a sudden this Russian satellite disappears.
They say it disappeared.
Right. You would know, right? Isn't there a list?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, that thing's still online.
You would know. You would know.
Okay.
For sure you would know. So let's talk about the Nazis now.
Oh, you love this.
I love talking about the Nazis and blaming them for everything. They're the reason why the McRib went away.
Yes, they are.
The Nazis.
Unacceptable.
Yeah. That's why a quarter pounder with cheese in France is called a Royale with cheese. It's the Nazis.
Because of the
Always
Nazis.
the Nazis.
That's true.
Okay.
What's it called in South Africa?
Yeah, what's a quarter pounder with cheese called in South Africa?
Cheeseburger.
Just a cheeseburger?
We've had McDonald's for a while.
They
So
still
yeah,
call it
you'd
a
go.
quarter pounder. Yeah.
They don't really have quarter pounders anymore, though.
Yeah,
They don't really sell them
It's been a
there.
while, sorry.
There used to be. What they called it at one stage? They called it was it Mac? Yeah, it was like McRoyal or something. Yeah, they went that way.
What is the big seller at McDonald's in South Africa?
The two little cheeseburgers. You get two of them wrapped in little yellow wax paper, and then the Big Mac.
Okay.
Those ones. But we have a franchise called Steers. OMG. You forget, with all apologies to McDonald's and the great work they've done it for years, when you go have Steers burgers, you're like, oh, McDonald's also exists. I forgot. Yum, yum, yum. So We're biased.
Wow.
Can
Can I
I mean, the
quote-
way he's pitching it, I feel like we need to go to South Africa to try steers.
I feel
I
like
think
he's probably an owner.
We're
Yeah.
waiting for you.
We bought shares.
That
Trading.
reminds me of Officer and a Gentleman. Only two things come out of South Africa, steers and queers. And I don't see no horns on you, boys.
Fabulous.
Sorry, had to do it. It was there. It was right there. It was like
It was
like he
teed
threw
up.
me a
It was teed
softball.
up.
It was keyed up. It was keyed up. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was top secret Nazi technology called the Nazi bell. It looked like an acorn. It actually had hieroglyphics all over it,
Okay.
right? It was called the Wunderwaffe or the Wunderwaffe, as the
Wait,
Nazis
but
would
I
say.
want to know why
Ooh.
this was entered into consideration. Like, where did that come from? How was that found?
Well, you just bear with me.
Okay.
I'll get there
Okay.
He's so dramatic.
very slowly.
I'm
gonna
standing by.
speak so slowly now so that you understand.
I want you to drag it out.
And Nazi Germany at that time, the scientists were just coming up with a bunch of different rockets. I mean, the Nazis experiments on tons of rockets, and it went back all the way to 1927. The Society for Space Travel was formed in Berlin. So this gives you a little bit of history about what the Nazis were doing. They weren't just trying to take over the world. They were actually trying to take over everything, space and everything.
Makes sense.
In order to get this information, somebody had to do the research on it. And unfortunately, that wasn't me, but
Right.
it was John Ventry in 2016, and he was the president of MUFON.
So that's the Mutual UFO Network for those who aren't familiar with what
Who aren't
MUFON
familiar with
is.
MUFON. Right,
Yeah.
right. So John Ventry is the president of MUFON. He said that this acorn ship was launched by the U.S. Air Force and the CIA.
Oh, interesting.
Based off of old Nazi plans. Now, this is where it gets really kind of weird. It was actually belonged to General Electric, our company, General Electric here, and it was part of a controlled crash of an object called the Mark I.
Well, didn't they figure out early on that if private companies own this alien tech, that disclosure doesn't matter about disclosure because it
Right.
prevents
Right.
if the government doesn't have it, they can't disclose it. So if
Right.
private companies have this,
They can
alien
hold
tech,
it and not say anything to anybody.
we can't make them
Right.
tell us what it is.
Nope.
Hence General Electric.
It was a re-entry vehicle. So if you think about re-entry rockets, the ends of a re-entry rocket, it kind of looks like an acorn, right? I mean, we could go
Yeah,
there
for
and say
sure.
that it looks like
Yeah.
an
Capsule.
acorn, right? And that's why the military arrived so quickly on the scene, is because this thing crashed.
I was wondering how they had a flatbed just ready.
So it kind of indicates that they were monitoring it.
Yes. And if it was a controlled crash, they would have been monitoring it. If you talk to a pilot, they'll explain to you when they land a plane, it is technically a controlled crash. That's really what it is. Any
Okay.
pilot will tell you that. Now, I'm not a pilot, but I do play one on TV.
If I were a pilot, I would vote for them to change that from calling it controlled crash.
Yeah, no, it's scary. So you know what's even weirder is that the local papers in Kecksburg said this: UFO falls near Kecksburg.
Yep.
An army arrives to rope off the area. That was the headline in the local paper. Now, UFO does not mean spaceship. Remember, it just means an unidentified flying
Unidentified.
object. That's all it means. Everybody always associates that with aliens, and it's not. So to our listeners out there, UFOs does not mean aliens. It just means
doesn't.
unidentified flying object.
Well, you know, your mom throws a sandal at your head. It's a UFO until you know what it is that hit you. It was flying. It was unidentified.
Until it
That's
hits you and you see it on the
Yeah.
ground. We're kind of jumping all over the place. This was 2016. John Ventry from MUFON. In 1991.
Wait, John Ventry went back to, this is him telling us about that thing in
talked about the
1965.
Nazi
But he's
bell,
saying
yeah.
that that's what that was.
That's what it was. That's what
Okay.
he's saying. And he's got some
in
more stuff.
Kecksburg.
Yeah, he's an expert. I would say he's an expert. He's the president of MUFON.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like he's the secretary.
Yeah.
He's the president.
He's not
Okay.
an associate.
So declassified
Well,
documents.
he's not the president anymore, right? Isn't
No,
Dan
he's not.
Aykroyd
I think Dan Aykroyd is now.
Yeah.
Currently.
the actor,
The actor.
comedian? Yeah.
Just Ronald Reagan. The president? Right. Same thing. The actor?
Same. The actor.
I just had a Back to the Future moment there. Who's vice president? Jerry Lewis? Yeah. So, okay. All right. So declassified documents from 1991 show projects from the U.S. Air Force called Program 437, and that was launched in 1964.
Okay.
And it was launched to keep America safe. Isn't that
What
great?
do you mean?
Instead of this ship making orbits around the Earth, it was meant to just go up and just kind of hang out in the atmosphere. It was basically a spy vehicle.
It was an early watch spy
Yes.
ship. Okay.
Yes. Unmanned,
Okay.
not manned. They called Program 437 an anti-satellite program, which means that it doesn't go all the way into orbit. It stays within the atmosphere.
Like where Katy Perry went.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and
Just-
Gail
just for
King
longer.
And Gail King.
all of them.
Yeah.
Now, what's even cooler about all this stuff is that that's really part of the ICBM program, the rocket program,
The rocket program.
ICBMs.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a link to this in the South African element as well. Huh? There's a link to this. Wait for it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm getting
loving
real
it.
excited here.
I'm loving it. Okay, so
Mhm.
this ship, though, that crashed was not the Mark I. It was actually, because that was 1964. We're talking 1965. This was the Mark II.
Okay.
So the documents uncovered on December 7th, 1965, just 2 days before the Kecksburg crash, before the incident, a project by the name of the Thor missile was launched in California from Vandenberg Air Force Base. It was one of 4 rockets to launch. Get where I'm going with this? South
Yeah.
Africa could possibly have been second of the 4, third of the 4, fourth of the 4, right? But apparently this flight had issues.
Wait, are you confirming that South Africa also shot off one of those missiles?
No, South Africa didn't.
Oh,
He's
okay.
saying that might have been shot and landed
We
there.
did.
I think that's what he's saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Thanks,
Okay.
Roland. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. The flight had issues, and our friend John Ventry says that the Mark II had the same acorn shape that people saw on fire in the woods and that they saw flying over the top of them before it crashed. Now, here's something that gets even more weird. People reported green flames in that area. Now, the Nazi bell, along
On
with
the
Mark-
ground or in the
no,
air?
around it. Like when they were walking towards the fire, it was burning
Yeah, yeah.
green.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this is like super, super intense heat, right? So we know that fire burns like blue and white and yellow, depending on the heat, right? But this was green. What they saw was a green glow. What was interesting about this is what I find most fascinating is that the Nazi bell and the Thor, or the Mark II, whatever you want to call it, was copper coated.
Oh,
And because it was copper coated, when
Ah.
copper burns, it burns green.
you got a lot of ahs over here.
That's all I got for you.
I love this. And then I'm going to hand it off to our guests
Nah.
in a moment.
What do they know?
I
They're
think
from
they
South
got some
Africa.
insight in Craddock. I want to know though, to clarify what you're saying, Kecksburg, I'm a little confused as what you're leaning into on that side, but we'll get to that. All right. Roland and Frank, I'm going to hand it over to you guys. Do you know anything more about the Craddock incident? Is there family, friends that you got some information from that you want to share with us boys over here in the U.S.?
Yeah, so we had a look at it. We researched it. We spoke to our friends who are journalists, historians, travel journalists, and so forth. And we put together all the clues. And I'm happy to confirm some of what you're saying, to burst the bubble on some of what you've heard so far. And then also, I didn't know that we'd have a link to what Andrew found in terms of the Nazi satellites, ICBMs, and so forth. There is a link. It's not direct. It's not like we had one of those. So actually, what I'm going to do is confirm some of what you said, and I'm going to burst a bit of your bubble, Neal, in terms of the information that you got right in the beginning. It's a little bit different, but the connection is strong. And then, unfortunately, I'm going to confirm some of what you said, Andrew, and the link across to that. So, Neal, I started off going, I'm on your side, but I'm going to be a little bit towards his research today, and we'll bring the two together. I believe it will be very interesting. So here's what happened. It's Karoo. It's 1965. Fireball in the sky. It's bright. It's orange. They say it was the size of a full moon. Now the Karoo is one of those places you look up. The moon is it's easily visible. So you must imagine a farmer standing up, look at the moon. It's bigger than what the moon would be in the sky. It was red, orange. It was flaming, and it had a trail of gas behind it. Apparently, though, for about 20 seconds, it moved across the sky. This is according to the accounts. It moved across the sky, and then it stopped. And this is the difference from the story that you got, Neal, is that they say there was a crash and the military arrived and everything. The accounts from 1965 of that Craddock Fireball, where it zigzagged, stopped, and then it crackled like a loud crackle pop type of thing and like disappeared. And then there was a smell. They didn't say ozone. They're a bit more direct. They said sulfur. So it was a smell like sulfur all over the place. That was what the locals were saying. So this thing cracked and popped and fizzled and whatever, and then it disappeared. And the dates are slightly different. The people in the area say it was September 23rd, 1965, and some say the middle of October. This would change the timeline slightly. It's not a week apart. It's 2 months before. So now I'll come back to Neal's side of the thing, and I'll say, so if it is an alien craft, it could be the same one. If it went down, it was touring all over. It was in South Africa in 65, in at least 23rd of September. And by December, it gets to Kecksburg. So Neal's story, it could have been the same. If it was a UFO, it could have been the same one because it wasn't a week apart. It was actually virtually a month and a half or 2 months apart. So it was September to December or October to December. Right. So on Andrew's side, you guys call it apartheid, we pronounce it apartheid. So the apartheid era government was very, very strict. It's kind of like KGB level secrecy, you know, and that's why there are no real documents, especially official military documents, even after they were declassified, that really describe all of these things. But there is a connection in a way, and that is there was a thing called Project Nassau, where they were setting up listening posts and radar listening posts down in the Cape and then in the Drakensberg Mountains. So it's about 500 miles south, 300 miles north of this area. So they would have, at that stage, been able to have detected something if it did land there. And here's what they were listening for, though. Not the Nazis, but the Russians. What they were doing is that they were very obsessed with the whole, they called it rooi gevaar, which in Afrikaans means the red danger. I'm sure you had a similar kind of thing with anti-communist sentiment, Cold War times. And so they were very much focused on trying to keep the communists at bay. And they believed that they were in imminent danger from missile strikes and things from the USSR. And because the underground resistance movement was, you know, there was a link to Russian training. They wanted to help the guys who were trying to liberate people from that system. So there was this tension between the people who were fighting the system and the people who were enforcing the system. And that tension had an international element to it, which was a Russian link, whereby they wanted to help the underground guys. And most interesting of all, there was a South African weapon that was being developed. Now, interesting that the resistance movement, the African National Congress, who's now in power, their armed wing, their military wing was called Inkonto Wesizwe, which means Spear of the Nation. Now, interesting, the apartheid government was developing a rocket called Nkonto, which means the spear. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're developing their own secret rockets. And they've got these listening stations, radar stations set up to defend against Soviet missile strikes. So it's, well, I suppose it's post-Nazi era. So where would all those scientists have gone if not to America? They would have possibly gone to Russia. Yeah. So there was this element, and we can't find official documents as a result. I mean, documents went missing back then. They just, you know, it wasn't, and they didn't ask the public if it's okay. It just, you know, it was just done.
They still do go missing.
Right. So there was this element where there is a military connection, like Andrew was saying. There's radar listening posts. There's missile developments and like weapons developments. We don't know about the shape of those and so on. But getting back to Neal's story in the beginning, you talked about there being burn marks and fragments and all that. I think that's like a mix of two stories. Rosmead, you mentioned in the beginning, Rosmead was 8 years later. And that's where there were burn marks, and there was a craft that actually was purported to have landed there. You'll find a lot more if you look up Rosmead's alien situation. Andrew can find research on Rosmead. That'll give you more of what happened. But in 1965, the Fireball was 2 months before the Kecksburg Fireball. And it was very interesting, and it was supposed to have disappeared and crackled. And one of the farmers described, if you just want to get a visual image of how it looked, imagine you're looking at like massive farmlands, and the entire area is lit up like a low-level flare. You know, an orange glow, like when you fire a flare? That's how they described it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the connection is there was a fireball in 1965. Lots of reports about it. And the local police, though, they say, oh, well, it's just basically meteorites. And then there's a book that was published in 1989 by Carl van Vleerden. You can check that out, Andrew, if you like the dates and details and names, called UFOs Over Southern Skies. Now, he writes about UFOs, but as you say, they're not always alien. They're just unidentified. And he says this is some kind of plasma phenomenon. And then other people, other skeptics have said, no, it's kind of like bollard meteorites, or it's like ball lightning or whatever. But there's a lot of stories that go around the actual experience. And having seen this thing zigzag, I don't know, much like my story in the beginning. You can say it was lightning. How does it go? This way, that way, stay there, pop and fizzle, and smell like sulfur. So there's a lot that leaves, an opening for a real alien connection there. And then finally.
Are you trying to convince Frank that what you guys saw was alien?
If he is trying to, it's an exercise in futility. So, but I don't discourage him from trying.
So Frank thinks just because he's really tightly associated with the facts and the science that he's going to win out. You know what I mean? I mean, really.
Look, Roland has changed my mind about a lot of things. So I am open-minded to evidence of things being different and not as I think they are. But he hasn't convinced me of this yet.
Not on this one.
Okay, so there's some discrepancies in how I reported this, the correlation between Kecksburg and with Cradock. So Craddock happened 2 months prior to the Kecksburg dates, apparently. Andrew, did you find that? Did you find that those dates were different?
It was weird because there were dates of December, then there were dates in October, like Roland said, and there were dates in September. After hearing Roland say that, most of the stuff that I found was in September, but I did find stuff in December. So I just went ahead and correlated. And that might have been why I wasn't able to dig deep enough into South Africa.
Because the dates may have been an issue.
And if you look up Rosmead from 8 years later, that may correlate with the story more, with the facts that you would have found.
Although I will say, Roland, the way you told the story, you say it very confidently, as if you were experiencing it. Makes me want to believe you. Let's weigh in. Why don't we let's decide whether this is a mostly true alien story. I want to hear from South Africans first. Roland and Frank, is this a mostly true alien story or not?
No. I want it to be, but no.
Well qualified, long answer.
There are enough unknowns to not know whether there is alien technology involved with what happened or where it came from. So on that point, I would say I'm not quite sure, but it's definitely not an alien event carried out by aliens from another place beyond this world.
So that's a no. Yeah. Now, my issue is this. People in those areas tell a lot of stories, and there's a large oral tradition, and they would have told these to the journalists, but, a couple of brandy and coke or whatever, the guys are having a drink, and the story gets bigger, and the journalist remembers the biggest part of the story, or the travel journalist. It's not even like New York Times or whatever, it's just like they're writing books about it. So these stories kind of get bigger over time. So in that way, I'm a little bit dubious, but on the other side, it is interesting that if you were going to see something that behaves in an unusual manner, and you were going to clearly get the clearest vantage point of it, you would see it in that part of the world. So yes, if it was an alien thing, and having been in that part of the world and watched something behave strangely, we've seen Starlink going over, we've seen satellites, we've seen all sorts of things. It's really easy to see things there. But in this particular case, I'm going, if you were going to see an alien craft, it would, and there's lots and lots of anecdotal evidence of people seeing strange things. So definitely unidentified, definitely strange. Was it alien? Can't say. And I'm a little bit dubious in the fact that lots of details added as the stories get told over time. And then I just need to give you guys one last challenge in terms of the telling. I forgot at the beginning of this discussion that Cradock is no longer Cradock. And I want to give you guys a challenge. It has been renamed. Its new name, are you ready? I need to get Neal and I need to get Andrew to see if they can say. So when you tell the story, it was Cradock in 1965. That's accurate. But today, if you want to tell the story about something from Cradock, you use the new name, and that name is Noba. Noba.
Noba? Roma?
Got to pull like air out of there, like suck it out the side.
Why did they change it? Why did they change the name?
Cradock.
What happens is, in terms of that, there's a lot of renaming going on, and it's a lot of areas are being...
Yeah.
That was close. It's like you had to chew gum with a dry mouth.
All right, so Roland says it's not a mostly true alien story. I believe that's what you were getting to. And Frank says it's not a mostly true alien story. He believes something odd had happened, but not alien related. And now, Andrew, I hand it over to you. Do you think that the story, the Craddock Fireball, is a mostly true alien story? I mean,
Woba.
Fireball is a mostly true alien story or not?
This is not a mostly true alien story, whether it's from the town formerly known as Cradock or from Kecksburg. No alien tech, government tech. I think that, what Roland was talking about with them worried about Russia, they were probably testing some sort of device that just malfunctioned and crashed. So this is not a mostly true or even partially true alien story.
So all three of you say this is not a mostly true alien story, and now it's my turn to weigh in. And I will say, to me, this feels like a sort of a breadcrumb trail. At first, you guys clarified that the two events were tied by timing, but they really weren't. They were 2 months apart, but the same tone and the same secrecy followed both of them. And the fact that both the governments just called it a meteor straight up, and within hours, you find out there's a little bit more to the story that is related to maybe Nazi tech or even the Russians. I always want to say when it happens in sequence, the fact that we found out that it was separate timing, that was further apart, the months were further apart, there was something else happening in Roadmead 8 years later, that takes away me saying this must be a mostly true alien story. So I'm going to agree with you guys. This is not a mostly true alien story. Felt like it was inside information coming from South Africa straight to mostly true alien stories in New Jersey. There it is, the Craddock Fireball, South Africa's forgotten UFO crash, but we've all decided it is not a mostly true alien story. We did have a few technical issues throughout the show, so we apologize in advance if things skip out of control for you here and there, but we pushed through because it was such a great opportunity to have you here today. And Andrew, as usual, thank you for all the great information you share on every week in these stories. So for everyone out there, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, leave some comments, and tune in every week for more reports, true reports of alien encounters. Until next time, be kind to the aliens when they get here. Thanks, fellas. Really appreciate it.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about adapters of unknown